We've got almost everyone here. We'll call the meeting to order. Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes? Sharon? What's that? Yes, it's on. Is that better? Okay. So Steve and Rob, thank you. And we'll start with our informational items. All in favor? Thank you. All opposed? Right. We have requested, and I saw him earlier, we have requested thank you, that our circuit clerk come to our meetings and give us updates, and he is present. Bobby, would you like to come give us an update? We're so glad you could join us.
I left you last meeting because I was going to go too long.
And actually, in his defense, we made a mistake after inviting him to come, and he was left out of one of the meetings. So we owe him to have it first on the agenda.
I'm the middle of six brothers, so I'm always used to being left out. So can you hear me, or do you want me to just stand up? But when Danny and Jennifer came down to my office, I was kind of explaining some stuff that we were doing in the office, and she said, well, why don't you come to one of our meetings, public safety meeting, and talk about it a little bit. And I said, well, you got about 3 days? And then I'll make it kind of short now since everybody looked at their watch. I don't get a microphone very often, but when I do, I like to take advantage of it. But in the clerk's office, we are doing a unique thing in Illinois with me and Link over in Tazewell. And it's became mine and Link's idea. We have the blessing of Kate Gorman, the chief judge, and Gabe. We're interlocking together. Me and Link are working together to make both our office and his office and the court system and the 10th Judicial look alike. We're the only ones in the state of Illinois that are doing this. When I go to clerk conventions, they say, how's it working out? I say, it's working out great. When we started doing that, I hired a guy part-time in my office named Greg, and he was their guy over in Tazewell. He was doing all the forms. If you're in our court system, first thing he worked on was forms. Tazewell will have forms, we'll have forms. They're different. Greg came in, he's uniformed all the forms, so Tazewell and Peoria look the same. Everybody says, well, why is that important? Well, we have judges go to Tazewell, and Tazewell have judges come here. They can get online now that Tazewell has Tyler technology too. So they can get online and they can make decisions in Peoria and Tazewell. So a judge in Peoria, if Tazewell's short, he can get online there, and then he can judge a case in Peoria, and they'd use our clerks, and then vice versa, Tazewell. So, and then when they transfer to Tazewell, or Tazewell comes to Peoria, the forms are all the same. Just the headline's different, Tazewell and Peoria, obviously. And since then, we've never had appeals working right in our office. Tazewell has been getting appeals. They're using Tyler, so were we. We went to a convention. I raised holy heck about it. And Tyler and Greg were working real close. Greg made a lot of connections with Tyler people. And now he redid all of the forms. The appeals. The appeals were done wrong. They were set up wrong. Greg was able to change the whole appeal process. Now Tazewell and Peoria, actually the appeals look the same, exactly the same. It's still an Odyssey program from Tyler that it is now. So when I talk about Tyler, both of us have Tyler, so I hope everybody understands that. We're about maybe 2 things ahead of them, and 2 programs maybe ahead of them. So they're catching up. So that was one of the things that Greg was able to do, was get that appeals working. And so this mobile app, I brought some cards up. I think I took them all out. But anyway, we have a mobile app that you can lock it on your phone. I got some signs. And you can get into our program with that. It has forms in there. It has documents of what court dates people have, what the court dates are today. It's a real nice app. Greg was able to put it in. They've already had it in Tazewell. He brought it over to Peoria. We're able to do it. The Sheriff's Department has it now too. And it's a really nice app. And the shocking thing is the number one thing everybody looks at is looking up people records or whatever. Yeah, there it is. And then the one idea one there, I'll show you my idea. So if you put on, I'll show you this thing. This was my idea. I have to take all this credit. Well, you go to these Gov apps.
I like the photo of you on the front.
I know.
thought that was a good idea.
That's my right side. So you go to clerk app. These are all the apps that are in the circuit clerk's office in Peoria, Illinois. I think all over the state. And so that was my idea. I asked them to do that, by the way. I might as well take some credit somewhere. So I mean, so that app is one of the number one thing is what they're looking at is court dates, what people are court dates. So it's just kind of, you can get on a website, HICAN, it tells you, and I looked at it. We have over 900 people have registered to look at this app already, just since we've been doing it. And the number one is court dates. And number two, which would be a shock, which shocked me, how do I get to the courthouse? I kind of thought that was kind of unique, you know. How to get to the courthouse? I thought everybody knew where we're at, but obviously they don't. And then the defendant access is, Greg has been working a lot with Jody Hoots on this, and the defendant access it's an Odyssey program. A lot of this stuff we're trying to get into Odyssey. It's an Odyssey program where a guy can look up his records, pay online. The reason we couldn't do it before was it had to give you an automatic guilty plea to be acceptable in the state of Illinois. Now with that Odyssey and that's integrated, so if you pay, it's automatically comes off the records. We don't have to do anything. And so we're pretty excited about that. It'll come out later. Jody's going to do a press release on it because it has some stuff to do with her office too. And then we go into court funding, where Kevin O'Connor was in on this deal. And court funding is a unique situation. Him and Greg were working on this, where instead of mailing checks out to people, we mail out probably anywhere from 20 to 30 checks a day to agencies and to individuals. And this court funding, we're the first ones in the state of Illinois to do this, too, the first circuit clerk's office to do this. A lot of times it's the first, so it is. Tazewell hasn't done this yet, but they're going to see how we work. But we don't have to write any more checks, so it'll go right into a person's bank account. And the agency is what we're working on now first. It'll be the easiest. So if we owe Bartonville money, instead of us writing a check out to Bartonville, it'll go right into their checking account. So it eliminates checks, eliminates us writing them, eliminates us signing them. We're working on that. And so that's going to be, we just sent out letters to Bartonville, to all these agencies, to tell them we want to do this. So that it'll save us on mailing, and there is a cost with it. I mean, it's like $1.20 a check, but we'll make that money back easily by not having anybody write checks or mail them out and stuff. And then court funding, court money, court money is our collection agency. Something that we've been doing for a long, long time. And I just give an idea, we collect about $20,000 a month from that. Now, when you throw out $20,000, that's not $20,000 all goes to Peoria. That $20,000 goes to other agencies too that write tickets. You know, if a state police writes a ticket on 74, they get a percentage of that ticket. And so we collect from that when they don't pay it, we collect it and we give it out. So that's about $20,000, about a month. That's just an average. And then with that, we started doing with court money, we was able to do recovery program, which is in the comptroller's office, which was a thing we've been trying to do for a long time, but it just became a hard deal. So if we were paying taxes in Peoria County, I mean in any county, but in Peoria, and you owe a traffic ticket, we'll get your money before they pay your taxes. So it's important to get the people's names in there that owe us money first, and then boom, we get the money right away. The way it works is if Tazewell's name's in there first, we're in second. Tazewell gets paid first, we get paid second. First child support gets taken out right away. You know, and it's the people in my office that make this work. Tammy Laminato, I have mentioned, and Kevin O'Connor, then Greg. And Greg has done a great job coming over here. He works part-time with us and with Link, and we're just working together. It's a unique thing. It's a unique situation. I think I'm excited about everything that we're doing. Working together, that's what I think the people want to know, that we're working together with Tazewell. Not to be a political person, which I am anyway, but most people say, well, you and Link, one's a Democrat and a Republican. Well, me and Link say, we're not Democrats and Republican, we're working for the people of Peoria and Tazewell County. And I think that's one of these reasons we can show that we can work together, and that's what we have to do to make this work out right. And everybody is getting really excited about it. I think there's more to come in the future, and we're working on this all the time. I'll be happy to answer any questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll make it up, or I'll ask my legal advisor if I can answer it, which she'll say, no, you shouldn't answer at that time. But I appreciate coming to the meeting. Last year, I can just give you on the recovery program, we took in $150,000. Again, that's not 150 that goes to Peoria County. It goes out to everybody. And I thank you and Danny, Jennifer, and Danny Phelan for coming down to my office. I think it's nice to see people from the county board, to see what we do as elected officials. We don't just sit around all day and park our car and move it to another parking spot so someone thinks we went to lunch. But if I have any question, anybody who wants to ask any questions, I'm more to answer them or not answer them. I'll take the fifth on everything I can.
Are there any questions for Bobby? Okay. Well, we thank you for coming and giving us a summary of all the things you're doing to bring the office into the, I guess, present times in terms of technology and accessibility. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you again. Thanks for your listening, I guess, or whatever you guys want to do.
and we'll ask you to continue coming to share when you've got more stuff to share. If you don't, that's fine too. So keep us posted as things evolve.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come through my office, I'll be happy to show them anything. I mean, it's an open office. Do come down. Don't be scared. I won't have you arrested right away.
Thank you.
At least I won't pronounce you dead like somebody else's office.
On that, I don't think we have anybody from the coroner's office here. Am I missing anybody? Okay. We'll move on to ETSB. Thanks for coming, Jody.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Just here to let you know that the ETSB and the PSAPs are all running well. We are finally having some movement on Stark County. Hopefully next month David will be here to give you a full update as to where we are with everything with Stark. That's really all I have for now. Any questions from anyone?
Any questions? I don't think so. Short and
Okay.
sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and PCAPs.
Hi, good afternoon. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on the 21 animals that came out of the property in Princeville. About half of them have either found homes or we've transferred to other agencies that needed a foster care type situation that we couldn't provide. And about the other half are still at the shelter looking for homes and all of that. We're thankful to our partners with the Peoria Humane Society for their help. They have paid for the vetting and the grooming of those animals that came out of the awful situation. And our partners with the Sheriff's Department in supporting us and allowing us to move forward with criminal charges. We're excited for that. The other update I have is we are working with the U.S. Post Office. They reached out asking for some dog bite prevention training. So I've been visiting all the locations in Peoria as well as East Peoria and talking about dog bite prevention. That's always fun.
Great. I bet they appreciate that. In terms of the numbers that you provided, do you want to give us a kind of assessment in terms of where you feel we are?
On the shelter side, there have been a record number of animals in the shelter. We haven't seen intake like this for 10 years, if you go back in our numbers. And that seems to be happening across the country. We're not entirely sure why. We know that the numbers are kind of correcting after everyone was down in shelter intake across the country for the COVID year or two. But now they've rebounded plus some. So we're all struggling with the same kind of resources and transfer partners and all the things that we can do to move animals along. I expect we'll have adoption promotions coming as the shelter gets more and more full towards the summer season.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I don't think so. All right, well, thank you very much. All right, and our new public defender.
Good afternoon. I was actually happy to hear from the clerk's office. When I was in private practice, I was often curious why we had completely different forms in Peoria County than you do right across the river, maybe 20 minutes away in Tazewell County, completely different sets of forms. So I'm really happy to hear that they are moving towards uniformity, and it's at such a basic level. It's helpful in ways that it's hard to fathom, but it is good to have some uniformity there. As far as the Public Defender's Office, I don't have much to report since my last update, which I believe was about 12 days ago. I am happy to announce and honored that last Thursday I was named the permanent Public Defender of Peoria County. So, thank you. Again, I'm honored and humbled, and very much look forward to many years of continued service to the citizens of Peoria County, and specifically the indigent citizens of Peoria County. So we don't have a swearing-in date set yet. That will be posted on the county site. Chief Judge Gorman and I were holding off on setting a date because I imagined that my father, who is Dutch, would be coming over to visit us during the swearing-in from Holland. Unfortunately, he said he can't make it, so. But we are going to Zoom him in. I believe there's some kind of technology where he and the rest of our family can kind of Zoom in and watch the swearing in. So that'll be fun to have them present via the internet. As far as other staffing concerns, of course, my appointment as the permanent public defender leaves a vacancy in my former position, which of course was the first position, or first assistant, in essence the vice president of the public defender's office. So that will be my most immediate staffing concern. Will be the next month or so. We're looking to hire a first assistant, and we'll be posting that job soon, and we hope to fill that within the next month or so. So we really have, over the past few months, have been down a significant position, which was, of course, what I was doing before I became the interim public defender. So assuming we get that done fairly quickly, we hope to have some interest in that position. It's a good position. So that would bring our total number of attorneys to 20 attorneys within our office. 7 of those will be full-time, 13 will be independent contractors. Okay. And thank you. That's all I have to update right now. Does you have any questions?
How are things coming with the merge of everyone? Is that still in progress?
The merge
Of staff people?
oh, as
Or
far as
relocation, I should say.
which merge are we talking about?
Do you have some offices moving around?
As far as the physical offices.
Physical
Yeah,
offices,
yeah.
yes.
We have, so our new offices are being constructed still down on the ground level. And the last update I gave probably a month and a half ago, I'd walked through and they had done the framing and they had done a lot of the conduit, run a lot of the wiring, but there were no walls yet. There were no door frames. So I guess I can happily report that at least my office and the office adjacent to me now has a door frame. They both have door frames. And they are starting to put up the drywall. So as far as the information that we've received, they are still pretty much on target as far as getting everything completed. We hope in the month of, maybe towards the end of June. So we're hopeful.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Oh, yes, Mr. Ricker.
Yeah, one question, Mr. Lowe, that I usually bring up, it occasionally is we made a decision to transition from contract public defenders to bringing in-house. Sounds like you're making good progress, but maybe give us a little more around the timing and that transition. Because I think, if I remember right, the goal was still to have a few contract to handle, I'll say, peaks and valleys of workload, but maybe give us a little flavor around where you're at in that transition, how close you are to bringing on the permanent staff, and then what percentage you'll have as contract.
Yeah, sure. So right now, and this is without the first assistant, we have 19 attorneys, and of those, 6 are full-time, including myself, which leaves us with then 13 positions, or 13 independent contractors, in essence, part-time people. And of those 13, well, those 13 handle a total of 17 contracts. So there are few people who are independent contractors within our office who hold 2 contracts. They may do traffic court with 1 contract and then juvenile court with another contract. So they have a couple. Now, as far as what I anticipate, yes, the goal is to bring on more full-time personnel, absolutely. I believe that we deliver a better product with more full-time people. It gives us more flexibility having people here in the courthouse more often, more boots on the ground, so to speak. Now, will we ever get to the point where we have an entirely full-time office? Not in the near future. I doubt it very much. I think that not only would we have to expand the offices that we're building right now, but it's just not doable in the short term. In particular, when you look at something like the juvenile abuse and neglect courts up there, because of the number of family members that are involved, the children that are involved, you have to have at least 4 or 5 attorneys staffing that one courtroom. So it makes more sense, I think, from a financial perspective and a flexibility perspective to have part-time people for the most part in that courtroom, although we did recently add Tim McCarthy as a full-time person in that specific courtroom. But yeah, short term, we would probably envision getting to about 10 full-time people over the next couple years, with the remainder being part-time independent contractors. Longer term, perhaps I can envision a few more full-time folks, but I doubt very much we'd ever, at least in the next 5 years or so, get to the point where we're completely full-time.
No, thank you for that, because as I remember, we wanted to improve the quality of our services for the Public Defender's Office, and bringing people in-house, just as you stated, the people who need the services know where to come, they have access, as opposed to going to outside offices. And then the goal was to kind of balance in-house employees with some contract, and ultimately be kind of a cost neutral compared to paying all contracts. So again, I had no intention of all 100% in-house staff. It was working through to find that optimum point. So good to hear you're working that. And then again, a lot of things for you to grab a hold of and get put in place. So once you get officially through the appointment and such, we'll continue working with you. Thanks.
Absolutely, thank you. And I will just note, my door is always open to anyone. If you have any at this point, my door frame, right? I am in court quite a lot, but if somebody wants to call our office and schedule an appointment, I'm more than happy to sit down and have a face-to-face with any of you, or anyone for that matter. So thank you very much.
Mr. Renaud, did you have a question?
I did have a question. It wasn't about your report. In preparation for our finance committee meeting, I was going over expenditures, and I had reached out to Scott because I noticed that the Public Defender's Office had bought some thumb drives and external hard drives, and I asked if we have an IT policy that those are scanned before they're plugged into computers that are on the network, and we kind of talked through that, and then he thought possibly they were going to be used to store body cam footage, and then that spurred another thought that I know at one point the state's attorney's office had come to us looking for some software for some cloud-based storage for body cam footage because it takes a lot of storage. So if indeed that's what those were for, are you also looking at possibly going cloud-based, and is that something you could work with the state's attorney's office on to do something together?
Yeah, but potentially, we're looking into that solution as well. The reason for the external hard drives is very specific to what we do as public defenders. We have to have that external hard drive to put a lot of very large files on it so that it's portable. We can take it out to the jail and actually physically show our clients who are there incarcerated, because obviously they can't come to our offices here in the courthouse. So, and some of these files are, of course, are very large, and at any given time, one of our assistants might have 15 to 20 clients at the county jail, and then these days, you'll have a number of body-worn cameras, which are very large files. You'll have surveillance. You'll have squad car videos as well, and all this takes up a lot of space. So, as far as storage generally, I think it's a goal of ours to look into cloud storage. But I think the temporary, when we are currently representing clients, we have to have that portable storage so that we can just take it with a laptop out there and show it to our clients at the jail. So I think that was the reason for those requests, and that was part of my work routine for the better of the last 5 years or so as the first assistant.
I just want to be clear. I wasn't criticizing the
No,
purchase of it. It just mine was more of a security. Are they scanned first, and then that kind of led to cloud-based solutions that are more. That's what most people are going towards now, and if that's something you explored.
And I suppose if they have good, fast connections out at the jail, which I imagine they do, the Wi-Fi connection, if everything's stored in the cloud, we wouldn't even need to bring the external hard drive if everything's up there already, and we could just run it right off the cloud. So absolutely, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for coming and giving us a great report.
Thank you.
And congratulations again. We'll move on to resolutions. The first one here is the police service agreement with Pleasant Valley School District. Can I get a motion? Rob and Sharon, thank you. All in favor?
Do you want discussion first?
Kidding,
No,
kidding. Go ahead. Since I tend to forget, I thought I'd include.
Hello. The first one is Pleasant Valley contract. This is a extension from our last contract with them for a school resource officer. This is 3 years. It is 100% of the cost study through the school year, and then a 3% increase every year. So this is just an extension of what they have. We have a great relationship with them. They love their SRO, so we're going to continue having service with them.
I have one question, and we had talked about it before, and it kind of goes along with the other contracts too. How do you determine a rate for these contracts?
I think it was 2 years ago, we did a study through Bellwether through the county board's request, and they did a analysis on how much police services cost for these contracts. So we have based all of our contracts, at least the ones that are directed full-time service contracts, based on that analysis.
Okay, sounds good. Questions on this one? No? Okay. All right, we'll move on. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Can I get a motion for our next one, which is the police service agreement with Princeville? Member Elsasser and Member Ricker.
This is another Princeville school district and the village of Princeville. They split costs for a school resource officer. They've already had this. This is just a renewal of the contract. Once again, based off that cost analysis from that report we did a few years ago, this makes all schools that have a school resource officer, they're paying the same. So it's fair for all schools. Princeville's went up a little bit from what they were paying. But like I said, we're being fair to all school districts that want a school resource officer, so they're all paying the same. And this is another 3-year contract, 3% increase every year.
Any questions on this one? All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right. And the last one, the police service agreement with Norwood, the Village of Norwood. Can I get a motion? Danny and Member Elsasser. All right.
So this is a new contract. I think probably 10 years ago, we had a similar contract with them, the Village of Norwood. This is identical to what the Village of Dunlap, they just renewed their contract this year also. It's identical to what they do. It's 10.5 hours of random patrol a week. So that comes out to a half-hour a shift per day. So it just gives them a half hour per shift, random, dedicated patrol to the Village of Norwood. They used to have like a part-time officer, but due to budget reasons, they got rid of that a few years ago. So they have recently engaged us, and they want to see some more directed patrol police presence in their village. So I sent them the Dunlap Village contract, and they said they are voting on theirs, I think, here in the next week or so. But it sounds like it's going to pass on their end, too. So this is a little bit different than the other contracts besides the Village of Dunlap, right? It's just, it doesn't really go off the cost analysis, because this one, we are not hiring a deputy to fill those hours. This is strictly additional revenue that I can't really promise them more than a half hour per shift, because this is a district deputy that's running a very large district in the county, but they do have enough time from what we've seen. They can cover a half hour in Norwood. And if they say they don't that shift, they'll relay that to the next shift so they can cover their time.
Can you share a little bit about how the random nature is covered, and then also how the officer is directed to, I guess, prioritize where they need to be?
So like Hannah City, we've had Hannah City contract for a very long time. They request a little bit more hours than that, and we can fulfill that. But once again, I have to be mindful. I can't overpromise villages contracts. Like if Brimfield came to me right now, I would have to look at that to see if I can fill that type of hours with Brimfield. So we're getting stretched pretty thin. We can easily do Norwood, but it's one of those things we kind of have to analyze. I don't want to tell everybody we can give them dedicated service. Eventually, we would have to hire another deputy to give that type of service, which then would affect the costing that we go in that type of contract with. So we have a lot of contracts. We have a lot of police. I think these are my last 3 that I've done in the last year since I've been sworn in. I think this is number 14. And we've successfully and also additionally added more contracts. I did not lose any contracts during these negotiations, and some of these were a significant cost increase because of that cost analysis that we did. But policing is becoming more and more expensive, right? So, did I answer that question? I can't.
Yeah. So, any questions? Yes, Mr. Phelan.
Sheriff, could you clarify too, in the event of like a high acuity call, our contracts allow us to remove officers from those service areas?
Yeah, so Bellevue and Princeville are good examples of that. I do not charge Bellevue and Princeville 100% of the cost analysis. The reason why I don't, it's about 85%, because that gives me the wiggle room, because Bellevue gets pulled to go help West Peoria. Princeville sometimes gets pulled to help south of Princeville, right? So it creates it kind of eliminates the headache. If I charge Bellevue and Princeville 100%, and it's a very high cost, they're going to be looking at me all the time about making sure that district car stays there, and I don't blame them, right? So we go down to just a little bit less than that 100% on those. The airport, West Peoria, and the schools pay 100% because we don't ever, 99.9% of the time, we never pull the airport car. We never pull the school cars. In West Peoria, it's almost the opposite. I'm actually pulling cars in to help the resources. As we just saw Saturday night, I had every county car and city car and state police dealing with our incident down at the Speedway.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, Mr. Renault.
I have a question. This is more, and probably for Shauna. I know when some of these service agreements that we have, also have to carry additional active shooter insurance. Are all these covered, or do additional service agreements affect that?
So most of these fall under our general liability package, which has a law enforcement rider already in place. So those are already covered.
Any other questions? All right. All in favor of the Village of Norwood Police Service Agreement? Opposed? All right, ayes have it. We'll move on to our Petco Love Grant Award. Can I get a motion to hear that? Mr. Elsesser and Danny Phelan.
All right, you have before you a $25,000 award. We'll be using this award for the supplies that are left over to purchase for the mobile unit. The mobile unit, if you'll remember, comes with all the equipment that is attached to the mobile unit. So the surgery tables, the surgery lights, the kennels inside, all of that good equipment. However, it does not come with IV sets and IV fluids and medications and all those things that we will need to make the operation work. Hopefully this $25,000 will be everything that we need. We're hoping to cover consumable supplies for the rest of the year, but that is to be determined.
We certainly applaud all of your efforts in locating these. That's incredible.
Thank you. This brings us up over $100,000 this year in grant money. I don't expect that in years in the future. Grantors like these one-time projects that they can fund and move on from.
All right, any questions on this grant? All right, well, all in favor? Opposed? All right, ayes have it. I did see the coroner come in, if you'd like to come up and give us a report. All right, congratulations.
I don't particularly have any update other than to say if any of the board members here have questions about my budget, our spending, our personnel, I'd be more than happy to talk with them about it. What I don't like is when I'm watching a meeting online and there's misinformation given at a meeting that's in public record. So I'm happy our door is open. I just want to put that out there. Clearly, it's a disservice to our taxpayers to provide misinformation and stuff that's not true by our board members. There's a few in particular. So just for everyone's information, we're only at 1/3 of our budget for the year coming into our second quarter. So that's all I got to say.
All right, any questions before he steps down? All right, thank you. Public comment, I don't believe we have any. Miscellaneous. All right, well then we will adjourn right at 3 o'clock. Not too bad.